It's time to buy. It's time to sell. It's time to make dynasty trades. Of course, we're always here to talk about dynasty trades on the Dynasty Six Pack. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dynasty Six Pack. It's episode 35 to be exact. I don't know why that was such a specific number, but we're specifically going to talk about the number, the draft pick number that you have to spend to go buy certain players. We're going to talk dynasty trades today, player values, and of course, just anything fantasy football. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Senra. Joining me are my co-hosts. We have Rahul Natarajan. Rahul, how are you doing?
Doing well, Kyle. Good to see you. Good to see JV as well for another episode of the Dynasty Six Pack. Now, I think officially over the half point. It might be the exact half point today at week 8.5, if you will, the night before week 9 starts. The exact half point of the fantasy football season. I think it's a very timely episode.
Is there an exact specific minute to second today?
You don't
have to calculate that.
I'll get back to you on that answer, but I think we'll hopefully have the answers for all our viewers on great trade targets to buy, players doing well, players perhaps with the values that we think are going to diminish and could be a great time to flip. But I think a lot of exciting stuff here tonight on the Dynasty Six Pack.
An episode of Dynasty Six Pack would not be complete without Jamie Perog. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm doing great. I was just looking at some of my dynasty rosters, and I feel like I'm one of the richest people in the world with as many assets as I have. So I'm interested to talk some buys if I need it, and we can find out which ones are actually gold mines or are they just disguised as an emotional baggage.
Yeah. Now, Dynasty Six Pack is really just one of the avenues that we have at Fantasy Six Pack. Man, who thought of these names? Oh wait, I totally just wanted to call the show this, so it's my fault for any confusion. It's entirely me. But yes, Dynasty Six Pack is brought to you by Fantasy Six Pack. There's fantasysixpack.net. There's the Fantasy Six Pack Discord. All sorts of great resources that are available to everyone. Got my goal line guide articles. By the time these episodes are released, that article's out. Tons of great articles every week that, again, everyone can access. But if you want more access, premium access, there's the F6P All Access membership. And right now, that All Access membership comes with a 15% discount if you use the promo code F6PPODS, F6PPODS. And the All Access membership gets you all sorts of premium channels on the Discord, for instance. Places that others don't have access to. Yeah, all access, right? There's cheat sheets for DFS, for betting, all sorts of weekly stuff now that we're in the NFL season. This is the time where the all access membership gets you the most. So again, F6P Pods for that 15% discount. If you want to buy that membership, we're going to talk about players to buy today. Players to buy in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Some leagues, trade deadlines are approaching. I was looking, guys. One league, week 10 is the deadline. So next week. So this is the time of year to kind of make those decisions and deadlines spur action. So what better time to buy than now? I guess now and then now. Okay, that could go on for a while. But Rahul, this was your big topic that you wanted to approach today. I'm guessing you're seeing your league's trade deadlines are approaching. So what? I guess before we get to specific players, do you have any guiding principles when trying to, as a contending team, acquire players this time?
Yeah. I think this, as we established, roughly the half point of the season is a pretty smart time or a good time to start buying, because you kind of know where not only your team is headed, but where other teams in your league are relatively headed. Like, especially in dynasty leagues, where not all 12 teams are looking to compete as in redraft, you'll start to see some very distinct mini leagues almost start to appear. I have one league myself where the bottom 4 are all 1-7, and the teams above are like, I think there's 1 4-4, and then a 5-3 team is sitting outside the top 6. And I think that can only happen in Dynasty. You can see something's like working well in like the metas that each team wants to achieve. But like I said, you have so much more information about the shape of your team, the spots in your roster that need filling, the trajectory of other teams, who's going to be likely to buy, like how late your pick is. And then when you get to players, as we will get into, you have much more information about the players that, before a snap had been taken, we were just projecting, with some accuracy, some with less accuracy. But at week 9 and onwards, you gotta know who's going to be good down the stretch and the teams that they're playing that could lead to boom week. So I think information is certainly at the highest point it's been. I always like to say, especially at the running back position, I like to wait as late as possible, because then there are fewer weeks you need to avoid the running back injury that's going to set your team back. But you might also want to get ahead of some of those deadlines, some of those other contenders, and target assets on those rebuilding teams. There's only a finite number of assets on rebuilding teams that they want to move, right? Contenders have their assets they want to keep. It's harder to buy from a contender, but long-winded way of saying, I think it's a great time to start, making those moves with, the next couple of weeks, the money weeks in mind.
Now, to be fair, teams also do have a finite number of resources to buy players, so you could make a whole list of players to buy, but one manager, one team can very rarely feasibly make all those trades.
Mm-hmm.
So prioritizing trades will be important as we kind of get to these player discussions. Jamie, anything guiding principles when it comes to buying players in Dynasty?
Yeah, you just have to look at team by team basis. Obviously, if you're 1-7, you're more likely to sell a guy that's at the end of his career that could help contending teams. So just look at each single team individually, what their record is, what their lineup looks like, and go from there for the trade. Because we can't just tell you in a vacuum, yeah, go buy this player. Yeah, you do, but depends on what team that player is on.
The contending team is likely not to sell that elite fantasy scoring player to another contender, right? Like you said, Jamie, you gotta.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a contender, who are the teams that are out of the playoff picture? Who are the teams with losing records? Who are the teams where there's a gap kind of in win records, and you can kind of say, okay, this is kind of the tier of the rebuilding teams, and this is the rest. And those are likely teams are going to have to target to make these trades, because again, the contenders are trying to win just like you. So contending against them, not only week to week matchups, but also sometimes contending to trade for the same player.
Mm-hmm.
So who are these players? Who are these players we want to buy? So Rahul, you provided a bit of a list. Jamie, you're going to love this first thing. I think we all do. Talked about him quite a lot.
Yeah.
But let's talk more about Brock Bowers.
Yeah, Brock Bowers. And like you said, Kyle, and viewers, we talked at length about our top players and top tiers and dynasty rankings in the last episode. So definitely go check that out. But Brock Bowers is someone we talked about at length. Certainly, if not one, probably tight end 2 for you and part of that elite tier. So keep it short and sweet. I'd really say, like, if you want to put a number to it, I'd even pay what could be like the projected 101 in 2026 for Brock Bowers. And I was trying to kind of do the math in my head. And there are reasons that I will certainly hear about, holding what could be the 101 for longer than spending it now, which we could also get into. But pick value wise, quarterback class, came in looking very, very, I guess, plentiful. And now those numbers have diminished. We won't know for sure until next April, next May. I wanted to take the direct comparison of Jeremiah Love, who looks like he'll be the 2026 RB1, someone I've seen mocked in the top 10 NFL draft pick. So you could put the simple comp of Ashton Genty there. Ashton Genty, probably at his peak in the offseason, rose to about where Brock Bowers is valued, at least in keep trade cut. But I think we had this discussion, if we did the overall rankings, Brock Bowers is always consistently ahead of Ashton Genty for us. For that elite but unproven RB1, Brock Bowers, the asset, would have been higher. So that's why I would say with with confidence, and you can't confidently call a pick. Though maybe halfway through you can call a pick the 101, but you can't.
Depends how bad some teams are. There's some really awful rosters out there, right? Maybe not every league has that, but there's some leagues that have a team that's so bad. Okay, yeah, you can telegraph that as the 101.
You can telegraph that as the 101, but the early first, I would have no problem paying an early first to acquire Brock Bowers on our dynasty teams. He did just practice in full for the first time since his week 1 injury, knee injury, coming out of the bye, which you'd love to see. And we don't again, we talked about his production so much. Like, everyone listening here knows Brock Bowers and how good he can be for fantasy football. He can't be that difference-making tight end in a position that's the most scarce at difference-making players. So I don't mind taking advantage of a rare buy window for a player like Brock Bowers. So I don't mind setting early first. So what do you guys think about acquiring Brock Bowers with a 2026 draft pick at this moment?
Well, the first thing I want to say is this injury. Do you think this injury really is dropping his price? I guess that's my first question. And Jamie, I know you love Brock Bowers. Like, has it? I know it hasn't dropped him from your tight end 1 ranking in Dynasty, but like, has this injury dropped his value at all?
I think it has, because I keep seeing people worried about him in that offense, especially this year. And I keep telling them, don't worry about it. We seen it in week 1. He was getting over, the first 4 weeks, even with his injury, he was still seeing a 20% plus target share. He was tight end 2 on the week 1. And we saw with Mayer filling in, Mayer had some good games too. So I'm definitely not worried about him. So even if I'm a contender, I'm looking to buy Brock Bowers for the rest of the season. And I would, if I was rebuilding, I would definitely give up an early first. Even I think he could be more valuable than the 101.
Yep.
And yeah, how many 101s have become the number 1 scoring player at their position, no matter what position they play? Like, I'm gonna say any one season over their career they've done that. I'm gonna say that's probably pretty rare. We'd like to think it's higher than it is, but if we go back over all the 101s, and maybe Superflex skews it a little bit. So they go, okay, well, Lawrence has never even come close to finishing as the QB1. Kyler, with his amazing season, he didn't finish as the QB1. Like, none of the QB1s that we've had over the years have been like 101 rookie picks either, right? So the range, like, what we're hoping from the 101 is exactly what Brock Bowers has already given you. And even though he's only a second-year player, you said the word earlier, I will prove it. And he's proven, and that's kind of thing. And I guess that was okay. So, quick question here with Brock Bowers: what was his value before? Like, was it just a single first? Or was it more than that in the offseason?
Do you think? I think there are probably some leagues that you could have sent Genty or the 101 with the Genty queued up for Brock Bowers. Maybe you had to tag on. I don't think you would have had to tag on a first in value to Genty to get to Brock Bowers. So I'd probably call it around that, like, give or take a second if you wanted to value it like that.
But it's got to be clearly locked in early first for it to be that.
Or unless if you're a contender looking to buy him, would you give your late first and let's say Sam Laporta to try to get Brock Bowers?
And that's a great point. That's a great point, Jamie, because I was going to talk about, okay, you said it, Jamie, as a rebuilder, you'd buy him. So that's where you get the early first from, right? Like, if you're a team that's kind of rebuilding, you're okay giving up your only first just to get Bowers. I think I am too, and it sounds like Rahul is. So that's probably easier thing, right? But the contender, it's harder because that first isn't perceived as early. So how do you add to it? So that's a great point, Jamie, adding a first to Laporta.
Yeah, so I got a few players expensive. Like Laporta's one, but like, let's say you're trying to give up
it probably gets done, because when you said that price, Jamie, sorry, but like that made me feel almost uncomfortable. So that probably gets done. Like, a Bowers manager is maybe not all of them will say yes, but like that probably is a good trade to get done. So that's a pretty good offer.
Here's one. Would you send, or I guess both ways, Oronde Gadsden and a first? And that's why Gadsden's maybe a little bit more interesting than Laporta. I would probably have Gadsden higher than Laporta in my weekly redraft rankings. I think Gadsden is going to be like a top 6-ish tight end the rest of the way. And so that's where like this idea kind of for Bowers to discuss it kind of came because I was looking at one of my leagues where the team that won last year has Bowers on his team, but also has Ferguson and Gadsden, to where like can another asset entice them to give up the tight end, which proven over the long run, but proven for the next 8 weeks. I don't know about I certainly don't know about that, but like
No, adding to the first, you would have to probably go in that tight end 5, tight end range. I don't think if you look at Gaston as a tight end 7, like I do in Dynasty, I don't think that's going to get it done.
So if you had Bowers, you wouldn't accept Gadsden in the first.
No,
I think it looks like it's a contender.
Bowers. But
Okay.
let's say someone stacked at tight end. They have like Kraft and Bowers on their team. Or let's say they have Bowers and McBride. And you offer them your late first as a contender to get Bowers. And then let's say you added, what would it take at receiver? Like Jordan Addison? Like, who else? Maybe
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers.
Xavier Worthy. Like that
Man,
kind of like
these are all guys I really like, and I feel like they're so undervalued based on what I want. So like I almost think like you still have to go higher to get Bowers because of how.
I mean, I would think like that.
Feels like Addison just is always undervalued off for what he gives. Like no one will ever properly value him for what his points are. Oh, he's always behind Addison, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you have to get like a team's number 1 receiver, right?
I would think like the Worthy, Waddle, Olave, Higgins, Smith, Jordan Addison, Travis Hunter. That would probably be my cutoff line with your late first to get.
You wouldn't give up anything. Like you wouldn't give up the receivers tiered higher than that. You wouldn't add a first.
No, not in the top 20.
Yeah. So that almost sounds like two late firsts if you wanted to convert it back into pick values, because that's almost 2 late firsts in value, I would say. So 2 firsts for Bowers, I think I'd probably still make that deal. Yeah.
Are we? Okay, so I guess back to Laporta. Would we buy Laporta for a late first? And do you think that gets done? Like, is that like Laporta's price? Because we're talking about Laporta in a first for Bowers.
I would certainly sell Laporta for a first.
I wouldn't, because that's a re-roll. I mean, we drafted Laporta a couple years ago in that late first, early second round, right? So if you're just
not really, I remember him being more of a mid to late second round.
No,
I mean, you were probably taking him earlier. That's fair. You were the smart one.
I remember even getting him at 210.
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
So a late first, to be fair, is already a profit on Laporta. Just because I go back to that trade, because that's up to this point, like that feels like of all the offers said, I don't know. I actually have no Bowers in Dynasty. I only have him in redraft. But if I had Bowers in Dynasty, I feel like the only offer I would probably say yes to is Laporta at first. But that's because Laporta's tight end 4, right? Like you said it, Jamie. You need that top 5 tight end. And we also kind of say we think Laporta is a tier above tight end 5. We talked about that last week. So
okay, so what if I offered you my late first and Trevor Lawrence? You're QB needy. As a rebuilder, maybe you look at Lawrence like he's only 26, and I'm going to give you my late first and Trevor Lawrence. Would you give me Brock Bowers? That seems like a fair trade to me.
Next to trades we were talking about a couple weeks ago, Jamie. Like, wasn't it? You were talking last week about someone wanted to buy Trevor Lawrence off you was going to offer. I think was it Xavier Worthy?
Yeah, and that was the top 20 receiver. So that was my cutoff.
And I think we all said we kind of preferred to stick with Lawrence, and I feel like that's the because I think that range of receiver, Jordan Addison, Devontae Smith, Worthy, I think I'd stick with Bowers if it was those guys in the first. I feel like you probably have to go higher. Now you also
as the Packers fan, if I gave you Jordan Love and my late first.
Oh yeah.
Would you give up?
I would.
Yeah.
So
I think that tier of quarterback I'll easily flip any player for. Like,
I have
if
Love
you're
and
gonna
Lawrence.
say I'm going to get a quarterback and a first. Like, I don't think Bowers, McBride, Chase, I'll sell any of them for a quarterback of that caliber at first. I view Lawrence a little bit lower, so it's not as much of a smash. Like to me, Love still, I've got him still as a top 12 dynasty QB, whereas Lawrence is like barely in the top 20. So like that's enough of a difference. Like I think that's where, okay, yeah, get that tier quarterback in the first. Oh, here's one. If you've got Joe Burrow, and you want to get out of Joe Burrow for a contending piece, do you sell Burrow to a rebuilder like Burrow for Bowers? Does that straight up get done? Do you think you could even get something added on top of Bowers because it's Joe Burrow? Like, or is that, are we still in the range where like the Burrow manager would have to add to Bowers?
No, I would need Bowers plus to give up Burrow.
We're still viewing Burrow as that top tier quarterback, and like if you're in a dynasty startup, Jamie, and it's super flex, even with tight end premium, you're still going Burrow first in a startup.
Yeah, it's week 9. You if you were going to do this, you should have done it. Well, Bowers was injured too.
True,
so
right? If you're going to sell Burrow for anyone, you should have flipped him earlier and get more weeks out of that player.
Burrow's coming back. Bowers is going to come back, and I just see they're maybe like Bowers in a early third, late second value plus would get me to come off of Joe Burrow. Depends on my quarterback situation.
As a contender, if you feel like, let's say because Burrow's gotten hurt, you've addressed quarterback in other ways. Suddenly you have this surplus at quarterback. Oh, maybe I can flip Burrow to get something that, hey, this upgrades my tight end position. So I can see where maybe, okay, you wanted to hold Burrow, but you've found other solutions at quarterback through the year, and now you feel confident enough selling him. Like that could also be a case too. But you're right. Yeah, people, if they're going to sell, like again, I've sold Neighbors right away as soon as he tore the ACL. Trying to do that with Cam Scatterbu in the league. So yeah, definitely want to be quick to these, but maybe if you haven't. All right, that was Brock Bowers, folks. That was the first player. But I think we actually gave a lot of structures of what.
One last thing, if you were going to trade Brock Bowers straight up for a quarterback, I would think it would be in that QB 10 to 12 range. So like,
yeah, and that's why I was thinking. Yeah. And I value Love with those guys. That's why I was thinking if you're going to give Love and a first for Bowers, I thought that was the easy, like, okay, yeah, that's an enticing way to sell Bowers. I don't think I'd want to buy Bowers for that, but like if you had a surplus at quarterback, Jamie, what is the lowest quarterback you'd be willing, or I guess the highest quarterback, so you'd be willing to sell straight up for Bowers? Like I'm giving up this quarterback to get Brock. I'd
give up Bo Nix for Bowers straight up. I give up CJ Stroud. I would give up.
Yeah. Here's the one. Would you give up Jackson Dart? Would you give up Jackson Dart? Yeah. I think that's my cutoff. I think that's my cutoff. I would not give up Jackson Dart for.
I'm not giving up Dart. I'm not giving up Herbert. I mean, they do have similar value, but I would need plus on top of Bowers to give up those assets.
So just looking at my dynasty rankings, you said Stroud. That was the name that instantly stood out. That's my QB 14 is Stroud. 13 is Burrow. And so that almost feels like the line because like I was kind of, again, that conversation with Burrow. You're right, Jamie. It does feel like the pick value side coming back should be with the Bowers side, and Burrow's still ahead of Bowers. Like you wouldn't do it straight up. So I'd say my cutoff is probably Stroud, QB 14. That's the first quarterback I'd be willing to give up straight up to get Bowers.
I think we talked a lot about Bowers. You want to move on to the next guy?
For sure. Better be Barkley. Man, that was awful. Rahul. I mean, which to be fair is the opposite of Barkley. I mean, I know he's been a bit of a disappointment this year, but he's still been really good, worth buying. And I know he's entering a bye week and a bit of an injury scare. Is this the perfect time to go buy him?
Yeah, I mean, he would have been even more perfect if he didn't blow up in the last game. But look at your leagues. You could be in some situations where Saquon Barkley is on a pretender or a team that looks strong, but has limped to like 4-4 and like has some aging assets. Could happen because Barkley, while yes, he's still the RB11 in points per game. So to your point, Kyle, he certainly has not been bad, but he has not been close to, the near 101 in redraft or what he has put up last year. So there could be some flexible situations where even this one blow up game, right? But Barkley still could be available. And I think with any contending first, I would easily pay that for Saquon Barkley, who is one of those players that has a top 5 scorer ceiling. Like I said, we just saw him be a hammer, right, in fantasy football last year. Him put up, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's on actually a different level, but him put up league leading production on a team that has very few changes to last year. Now, structural changes, and that could be offensive coordinator, but I think mostly a banged up O line has been why you've seen Barkley shockingly not have a single play over 20 yards until this past game, which is an absurd stat considering this man scored 770 plus rushing touchdowns last year. It's the explosive plays that have just gone. Barkley, though, is one of those running backs that is locked into immense volume, and that's why he's still been the RB11 in half PPR. I think that Barkley, and again, like if a true contender has Barkley, they're probably not going to lose an asset like that. But I think you're going to be in some situations in your league where Barkley's on a team that's kind of mid, heading into a bye week. You know, you might have to kind of gaslight up that injury that he did suffer, of course. But I think he's going to be available in a lot of situations for just a single first round pick. He's an older back, and it's not been all smooth sailing. So I would go out and try to buy Saquon Barkley as a team. I'd make on any team that's aiming for the playoffs, but especially if you're like with either first, second, or like within reach of those teams, this is the right time to buy Barkley and go secure that buy, because getting a buy in your fantasy football leagues increases your chance of winning like really exponentially. So Saquon Barkley is a buy for a single first. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so for me, I would buy Barkley even if I was a mid team right now, right on the cusp of playoff contention, because I think he is going to help you down the stretch. So if I give up my first and they're looking at it like, oh, well, it could be the 105. Well, you give me Barkley. Well, guess what? That is now going to be the 109. And I think giving up the 109, 110, 112, that's a great value for Barkley, because I value him right at that like 106, 107 cusp, in that mid-tier cutoff, where if you're a contender, yeah, you definitely sell your first for him because you're getting a discount. I'd give more. I'd give my first plus to get Barkley. Well, if I was an actual true contender, but if I was on that cusp of trying to make the playoffs and I'm giving up my first, if it ends up being the 105 and I miss the playoffs, whip-de-doo. I still think that's a good value because he's going to help you next year. But at 107, 108, 109, I think that's a great value for Barkley.
Well, just like on the buy price, like, I mean, okay, first off, I was actually going to ask this about Bowers, but like, have you guys seen any Brock Bowers trades in your leagues?
No, have not.
Yeah, like, and not just even recently, like across the whole year, right? Like, whoever got Bowers last year is like probably holding them on to like, oh, man, this guy's not moving. Now, Barkley is what I wanted to ask about. Like, have you guys seen any Barkley trades happen in your leagues at all?
Still, no.
No, but I play in far fewer leagues. But.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, I really hadn't seen Barkley moved. I've seen two Well, I've not even seen. I've been part of 2 Saquon Barkley trades. So at the rookie draft, we talk about like what his price is. JV, you're talking about like more than a late first. When the 110 was on the clock, I think, or maybe it wasn't even on the clock, but as we're getting to the rookie draft, I gave up the 110 DK Metcalf in 2 seconds to buy Saquon Barkley. I may have gotten other pieces, later picks back or whatever, thirds, fourths, as I typically do. I'll just throw a third back. But essentially buying Barkley for that. First 2 seconds in DK Metcalf. Trying to just, okay, I'm replacing Metcalf with Barkley in my start. This was the thought. I'm paying a first and 2 seconds to make that happen. So I don't know. First off, what do you think of that?
Yep, I like it.
Like you said, more than a late first. That feels like I wouldn't say that was a light price for Barkley. Like I felt like I paid full price to get him. I was also shopping to get like guys like Jamar Chase were even just more expensive. So like it felt like for a contender, that's how I want to spend rookie picks. So it felt like it was buying him at his ceiling, so to speak.
So let me ask you this.
Like, okay, yeah, we'll get to the next part because I did want to follow up, but yeah, go ahead.
So if you were in a single quarterback league, would you give up Joe Burrow straight up for Saquon Barkley?
Of course. I'll
Yes.
give up any quarterback for almost any player.
Okay, so
quarterback
in
league.
a single quarterback league, I think those top 5 guys, which is Allen, Daniels, Lamar, I put Drake May in there and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Any of those top 5 guys, no, they're off the table. But anyone after that, like a Mahomes, a Burrow, Caleb, like Herbert, I would give them.
I don't
straight
know
up.
about Mahomes, dude. I think Mahomes has been that difference maker too. Because to be fair, like the reason you have those players higher is because they're true difference makers at their positions. I mean, to be fair, that's what we view Saquon Barkley as, right? Like that's the kind of the whole point of trying to buy him. But like, I mean, and I get to that point, like I don't mind giving up a difference making quarterback if I get a true difference making guy like Barkley. So yeah, I wouldn't give up those quarterbacks for just any player, but like it's got to be a true elite man. Like this player will over replacement level help me get wins.
Yeah,
Right,
and
so-
where's the receiver cutoff on that? Would it be 15?
On Barkley? Ooh.
Yeah,
I'm
Barkley.
gonna pull
Would
my
you give
dynasty
up?
rankings right now.
Like, would you give up Rahsee Rice? I think that's a little too much.
No.
But
The way
anything
Rice is producing right now, I would not give
Yeah.
up. Rice.
So like the Garrett Wilsons, no, I don't think I would.
It's
Like,
probably a tier lower. Like
You
Marv.
see, that's
Marv
the guy.
is
Marv
a
and
good
Garrett
question.
Wilson.
Yes.
I've got Marv and Garrett Wilson back to back. So like to me, I view them as the same. So it's
So
funny.
if you're a contender, yeah, you give up Marv for Saquon Barkley, and the other way around. If you're rebuilding,
Yeah, I mean-
give me Marv, and I'll give you straight up Saquon. I think that's a fair, even trade right there.
It's funny because I have DK Metcalf not that far behind those guys. So like I clearly I added to DK and I do have Harrison and Wilson ranked higher, but no, that is a good range. That's probably we get to Tedero McMillan, Lad McConkey, Brian Thomas Jr. You giving up those guys for Saquon?
No, I'd keep those wide receivers.
Okay, and so I mean I've got Marv at 16, Lad McConkey at 15. So it feels like
Okay.
You said it,
Yeah.
Jamie. Wide receiver 16, right? You got that like exactly.
Perfect.
It's like you knew. It's like you came from the future. So.
Now let's talk Superflex. Where's that cutoff? Is it like that Jared Goff, maybe Daniel Jones?
Oh yeah.
Anything else right around that 20th range? I think.
I've got those guys a little higher than 20, but no,
Like Michael
Murray.
Penix for sure.
I think for a running back, no. I'm more likely to do it for a guy like Bowers that I feel like will be
Because I don't really see
longevity.
many. I don't
'Cause
see
I guess-
many like quarterback trades with running backs.
Yeah.
Straight up.
I mean, either the young quarterbacks or we view them as such long-term assets that you'd never give them up for a running back, or it's guys like Jared Goff. They're producing like elite level quarterbacks on certain weeks. But does someone want to give Barkley for Goff? Probably not. But as someone with Goff and Superflex, like that's probably not how I want to. If I'm trying to I suppose if you're a contender, why are you selling Goff, right? Like you'll probably never get proper value for him. Guys like Goff, Daniel Jones, like their points are probably worth more to you. So I'm probably not that's probably not how as a contender I want to I want to be okay. I've got Goff and I've got Cam Ward, like Cam Ward types. Those are the guys I want to sell for. But if I've got Goff, I'm probably rolling with Goff and happy I have him. If I lose Goff, it doesn't matter that I'm getting Barkley. I'm probably hurting my chances to compete. So I'm inclined to say no. I wouldn't sell those guys straight up for a running back. Certainly not Barkley. Maybe other running backs, but not at this point. And maybe that informs the next part of the Barkley trade talk. So the second Barkley trade I've seen / been part of, I just made a couple days ago. Actually, maybe even yesterday. Sold as this contender who bought Saquon Barkley in the rookie draft. My team's good, 6-2, I think. I sold Saquon Barkley and a 2026 4th round pick to get Josh Jacobs. I can tell my motivations of why I did it, because even it's my best friend Akili who got I sent him the offer and he just accepted it. Like, whoa, what was this about? Like, I've got my reasons.
What are those reasons?
Well, honestly, the biggest reason, and this may be so short-sighted, but every win matters. How can I buy myself an extra win? I'm going to spend a 4th to buy myself out of a bye week. I'll buy Josh Jacobs, who's past his bye week, in lieu of Saquon Barkley. Now, this Barkley injury certainly, to be honest, Jacobs was not my target. My target at running back was unobtainable. So rather than spend serious draft capital to get significantly younger, I got a year younger at running back. So maybe push that clock just a little bit. You mentioned it, Rahul. Barkley's 11th in points per game. Who is higher than him? Josh Jacobs. Not by a huge margin, but right now Jacobs is outscoring Barkley. So from a points perspective, I'm actually slightly increasing. Now, you might project it to say like that's not going to be the case. I know you were certainly talking about like the Eagles O-line. We think it'll gel better at the end of the year. Like we expect Barkley's better fantasy games to come at the end of the year. But man, the way Jacobs is playing right now, like I thought I'm going to take the shot at that. I'm going to jump over a bye week, buy a player who's past his bye week, a little bit younger, and scoring a little bit more points per game. It all kind of converged to, man, all I have to do is spend a fourth. So as a contender, are avoiding bye weeks like that something you guys ever think about? Because that's how I wanted to end this Barkley conversation. Talk about like again that motivation. But like, do you ever really consider bye weeks? Are you ever trying to buy yourself out of bye weeks in a dynasty league?
Wait, so you gave up Barkley in a fourth
For Jacobs
to get Jacobs?
Yeah,
Dude, I would give up Barkley in a third to get Jacobs because I still have Jacobs in my top 12. Barkley's right outside of it, so I mean, a late third, whip-de-doo. It's a dart throw, and it, like you said, passed up your bye week. So even in Dynasty though, like I'm looking at my rankings. I got Jacobs at 11, Barkley at 15. Just giving up that fourth, I think you stole that. Bravo, good job.
fair enough. Again, the bye week was I think the biggest motivator, but there was a few factors. But yeah, I don't know. Like, have you guys ever done that? Like, try to buy yourselves out of a bye week before?
Certainly not in that.
have,
Honestly,
yeah.
not in that way. I'm not in the way that the assets swapped are as high valued as Jacobs or Barkley. What thing that I've certainly done is like if I'm able to like if my opponent of that week is kind of a team rebuilder team looking to sell, I'd buy sometimes from that team rather than a different team to
Weaken
weaken
them
my
even
opponent.
further, right? Like ensure yourself a victory better. Yes, no, that's true. I've done that in the past too, right? Yes, if I'm targeting a person trade, oh, I'm playing this person. Oh, they've got this. I don't want to face that player. Let me buy them. Yeah, no, for sure. That makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah, but
So-
no, I like that trade. Yeah.
So sometimes with the trades, it's not even about necessarily the players you're acquiring. This one, it kind of was. Again, like I want, someone older that it's not going to cost me. Like if I tried to go buy like a Devon Achane or Genty, the youth gap, those managers probably aren't just like doing it for a fourth. Like they probably want some,
No.
okay, if I'm getting this much older running back, give me a second in return. I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to avoid. Like, I didn't want to overspend my way out of it. And again, the potential injury risks. So but yeah, I think those are key things. Sometimes it's not even about the players you're targeting, but the outside periphery things like, oh, who's your opponent this week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where are the bye weeks? Like where can you jump? Where are little ways that you can try to buy an extra win? And that's again, as contenders, what we're trying to do because we want to contend in the playoffs. Got to make sure you get there too. And like you said, every win matters. That might matter for that first round buy. So if you can buy yourself an extra win out of a bye week, certainly I advise it. But I just did it. So anyway, those are the only Saquon Barkley trades I've seen in my league. So it's for Josh Jacobs, right? Like it's older running back for older running back. That might be where you have to deal in terms of, I guess if you're trying to sell Barkley, you can. We're talking about trying to buy him though, right? So like maybe right now that those sellers are more motivated than they've ever been to sell Barkley. So this might be the perfect. The fact that he's on a bye week might be the perfect opportunity to go buy him.
Yeah, I think certainly a great buy. If we want to move on to the next segment, maybe a little bit cheaper than firsts.
We've been reducing in price. We've gone early first, late first. Now we jump down around. What's a player you can buy for a second?
A player you can buy for a second, and before we get into a quick anecdote, a player I would have loved to bring to this episode that I was tweeting all week about buying for a second in Dynasty was Mike Evans, and I bought Mike Evans for I think a mid-second, not my own. Mike Evans and Zach Ertz for a mid-second on a Saturday night, and then we saw what happened when Mike Evans returned. So it will not be Mike Evans. Go ahead. Yeah.
Ew, like, that's yeah.
Terrible. But straight to the IR and a second loss for Justice Zacharias essentially. But I think a player that I would like to target, I certainly think you can get for cheap, is JK Dobbins, who's currently the RB22 in half PPR. Uh, viewers, Jamie prefaced that he's going to fight me on this one, so stay tuned for this. But let me say my spiel. J.K. Dobbins, as I said, an RB2 so far. 75% of his games, interestingly, have been 11 plus, so very consistent, a good floor. In those 6 of 8 games, they've all been between 11 to 15 points. So he strikes me pretty clearly as like maybe not the highest ceiling, but a pretty high, like a high end, like mid, like RB2, good floor. You know what you're gonna getting from J.K. Dobbins. But why I think it's the right time to buy, and this is probably contrary to a lot of the advice you might hear on this show and elsewhere, that's saying this last game where we saw RJ Harvey score 3 touchdowns and blow it up in the box score. I think that's why J.K. Dobbins is going to be, cheaper than what his production will end up giving you in your lineup. I think it's pretty clear still that Dobbins is the lead runner. He's been averaging 16 and a half opportunities per game so far this season. And yes, again, like that narrative can be spun that Dobbins will be trending down and Harvey will be trending up, but I don't think it's that clear. I think what has been clear is that J.K. Dobbins has been the better runner this season of all the Broncos running backs. You could go through. I have a whole list of acronyms for metrics that I could look at right here and bring up, but J.K. Dobbins betters R.J. Harvey in every single one. For if you want to bring it down as much as this game, for the 2 red zone touchdowns that RJ Harvey scored, Dobbins was in on first and second down in both of those drives, and no touchdown was scored, including one that like they kind of ruled forward progress and stopped the play, but Dobbins was like the next second fell into the goal into the end zone. It was really that close, and RJ Harvey came in on third down in each of those. So a play here, a play there, an inch here, inch there. It could be J.K. Dobbins with another 20-point performance on the week. Jamie, yesterday on our other show over on Going for Two, he kind of gave me a little bit of a preview to why he's fading Dobbins down the stretch. And I know you have some schedule concerns, Jamie. Absolutely valid. They play the Texans, the Broncos. They are the Broncos. I wrote that wrong. But Texans, Packers, and Chiefs twice. They also do get the Raiders twice and the Commanders. That means I must have missed one game that was hard. But what besides the defenses that they're playing, I still think the Broncos at their core are a good offense with a great defense. So all of these games are going to be high scoring with, most likely good game scripts. That's where a player like this, not certainly the most pass catching upside, but I'm not necessarily worried about the defense stopping J.K. Dobbins from scoring points. Would certainly love to hear your analysis on that. And then Dynasty View, only 26 with a very little long-term mileage, but that's not generally what I'm looking for if I'm shopping for a player like J.K. Dobbins. I think this is a guy that you can bring in to fill a hole in your lineup for a pretty cheap price. Contending second, I think, would be great value for a player that's only been a rock-solid RB2. And I see being the same going down the stretch. Jamie and or Kyle.
Okay.
You.
So
probably
look,
have lots
I'm not saying Dobbins is washed or anything, but let's be real. He is injury prone. In Dynasty, you want reliability. Guys that you can start every week without sweating a snap count or even an ankle tweak. Like Dobbins, his upside is there for sure, but that injury risk, you have to adjust that to his value. He does it, like you said, rough rest of the season, and he has a younger, fresher running back just breathing down his neck. And Harvey, he is a way better pass catcher. So if they are down, I could see him playing him more. Plus, he's got the fresher legs. And like we did see a real glimpse into what RJ Harvey couldn't actually do last week with limited snaps. Like For me, it depends, man. Like, I think there's other running backs that I would rather have over Dobbins as a contender.
But
But-
for a second,
For a late second, if that's the only trade I can go for,
Mhm.
sure, why not? But you just have to remember, like, there's a possibility where that could just be thrown away, where Dobbins down the stretch doesn't get as much work as Harvey,
Mhm.
especially with that tough schedule. And then if he does get hurt, I don't know, man. Plus, going forward, looking next year, I don't think Dobbins is going to be as usable as he is this year. So it could be a waste of a throwaway pick. So for me, I'm looking elsewhere on JK Dobbins. Kyle, what do you think?
Well, to the risk of a wasted pick, I mean, Rahul just showed it, right? Like, you could buy Mike Evans for a second,
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah.
and he gets hurt with 0 catches, and he's done for the year.
0
You get
points
nothing.
for my franchise.
You get nothing, right? So, like, even a good player could get hurt the week you trade for him and give you nothing anyway. So that,
Like, I'd rather go after DeAndre Swift because I think they have
it's funny,
similar
I
value.
was looking through my dynasty rankings, and Swift was the name I was going to bring
Yeah,
up. I've got
very
Swift.
similar value, and I think he's in a better. I don't know about better offense, but like he has no one looking down behind him. I mean, Monungai, I'm not worried about Monungai. I'd rather have Swift or how about
He's worried about Roshan for a totally different reason. Sorry, he didn't
Dang
want
it.
to
DeAndre Swift is
let's
a
not talk about
great.
Roshan.
No,
Swift. That was mean of me.
Swift is a great.
Please forgive me.
Swift is a great call, but I kind of like this process. I literally just like sorted running backs this year by points per game scored, and a lot of the names there are surely not attainable with a second. DeAndre Swift is one, but a contending second, someone might look at with especially the last 3 games of Swift and think they might be able to get a little bit better. The only other one that I was like, Jaylen Warren is maybe in that like contending second tier, that like Jaylen Warren, maybe I should have said it's a Dobbins, where that threat of being surpassed is not as high. Travis Etienne probably against falls in the same kind of thing, but then you have that threat again. But it's like rock solid. Yeah, RB2.
Actually, I like that one the best. I think of all those guys, Etienne would be the buy I would make. But
here's one.
Is a late second going to get him as opposed to an early second, right? Like that might
Yeah.
be one where you're forced to take Dobbins because Etienne's just too expensive. Sorry, Jamie.
Yeah.
A name came to mind. How about Trey Benson? Because he is going to be coming back. He's going to get the full workload, and people are ignoring him because of that injury. So he also has the youth on his side for future assets and can possibly help you this year. And I have him right around that Jaylen Warren, Travis Etienne, DeAndre Swift, Dobbins area. So would that be someone you would want to go after?
I think, okay, he was probably drafted mid-second, right? So anyone getting him, selling him for a second, they at least like get their money back essentially, right? So like that's considering he's hurt right now, like that probably is attainable. I almost wonder at this point, is that viewed as like, oh my god, like could you get him for cheaper?
Because you're buying him from probably a team that isn't even competing, right? And running backs
he's so irrelevant that might not matter, right? Like a contending team could just be stacked and have Benson anyway. But to that point, they don't care about him, right? Like if he's on a contending team, they're contending not because of Benson, so he's not viewed as a strong. He could be got. You could have him. Yeah.
So maybe instead of going after a Dobbins or a Swift, try to go after a Benson. See if that works first, but then have a backup plan of going after the Swift or Dobbins.
Like I'd try and buy Benson for a third first, and if that didn't work, like I'd much rather. Happen. Well, that's the thing. I'd much rather spend a second on Swift or Etienne or even Dobbins, right? I think I would buy Benson if he was cheaper than those guys. But if we're talking seconds, like I'll take Travis Etienne all day.
Yeah, and I think to make this more about like the profile of player rather than any individual players, I'm looking for a guy that I know will score points. Now with Dobbins, there's like that question, right? Is he going to trend down? But bet I don't want to get into players, but like if I'm using a late second or a second, my own second to bolster my team, I need to know that they're going to come into my lineup and start on a weekly basis. And I
Yeah,
think
you're not
JK
giving up
Dobbins,
a second just for a depth player, right? Like that feels like why like you're wasting value. Like your depth players, you can get them on the waivers or thirds and fourths. But yeah, if you're spending a second, I agree, Rahul. Like you shouldn't spend a second unless you plan on starting that player most weeks.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like why are you spending just for depth? Right? Like you should be spending those picks on starters that are going to be in your lineup. Otherwise, hold them for the rookie draft because if you're just going to trade for
Exactly.
depth, you just draft depth players, right? Like yeah, for sure. I agree.
Kyle, you mentioned offering a third for Trey Benson, but that's more of that handcuff area. So
Well,
is there
and
any
this
running
goes back to a
backs?
couple weeks ago. We were talking, is Trey Benson a handcuff or not, right? Like, and to be fair, Jamie, I think I was the one that was pushing, like, think he's more than a handcuff. So I guess you're right. I guess he is. He's probably someone, you're right. It wouldn't be just 1/3. You'd probably have to give 2/3 to get Benson or 3/3. Like, it wouldn't just be a single third. Whereas, Rahul, you included a list of RB handcuffs. And again, we did a whole episode on, or maybe not a whole episode, but a big episode, a big chart of an episode on handcuff running back. So you had 3 names here.
Yeah, 3 names, and again, I'll just start with a profile rather than names. But I'm just looking for handcuff running backs on good offenses with high likelihood to have the goal line role if they were to come in for their starter. So I'm sure you guys could also name a couple that I've left off. 3 I just want to mention are Ray Davis, Brian Robinson, and Tank Bigsby. I think these are guys that have done very little year to date and are really back of mind for a lot of fantasy managers. And I think you could toss just your own, again, contending third and take a shot at one of these backs ahead of them, all high volume backs, like, yeah, very high volume backs. Players that touch the ball more are more likely to get injured, right? So this is a shot that a late third for most leagues, unless you're from the future, like our co-host here, it's a dart throw, right? You're just like making a random lottery pick there. I'd rather use that to get a guy that if the starter goes down, absolutely to start, the Bills starting running back, the Eagles starting running back, and the 49ers starting running back. So you guys feel free to take this direction of players or maybe strategy wise, would you be looking to send those kind of thirds to acquire handcuff running backs at this point?
Yes. Tank Bigsby, yes. Ray Allen, yes. Ray Davis, of course.
Braylon Allen too, maybe.
Yeah, Braylon, that's what I was thinking of in the back of my head. Braylon Allen, yes. There's a bunch I can name off the top of my head that I would rather give up a random third, especially if it's mid to late for these running backs.
Sorry, Dave, but if you strike lightning and the starter gets hurt, that player elevates to a starter role.
For example,
you might get him in your lineup, or B, you could sell them for much more than a third.
Like Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby is a handcuff to Saquon Barkley. We just talked about him. Barkley is right now, he is dealing with a groin injury. So Bigsby showed big upside in week 8 and is worth stashing if you can attain him for a third. Jaden Blue, some guy that I have never been on, and I still don't like the guy. But I do think in this situation, Jaden Blue is the number 2. That rhymes. This week he's even facing Dallas, or no, he's who are they facing? Dallas.
The Cardinals.
Yeah, Dallas is facing Dallas.
To be fair, that feels like that happens a lot. Like their own worst enemy most of the times.
If Javonte Williams misses any time in the next 4 or 5 weeks, Jaden Blue can be a league-winning lottery ticket that you just bought for a late third. So yes, I love going after those guys.
I got one more name. Tank Bigsby's former teammate, with Bigsby gone, Bashal Tootin. I know he's done.
Ooh, I was just going to mention Tootin, but I think him as more of a second rounder.
Yeah.
You ain't going to be able to get him for a third.
Expensive.
Because,
to be fair, I remember we were talking about him and I think we actually talked about this last week too. I suppose if that's what the price is going to be.
Because you all know I compared him to Rick James, he's a super freak, right? And right now he is locked into that Jags number 2 running back behind once Bigsby left. Now he's behind ETN. Who knows if he's even going to be there next year. So if you can get Tootin for like 2/3, do it. I would do that. But I would even pay a late second for him because the dude flashed in limited touches, and give him a full-time role, one injury away. That's going to be a real fantasy starter for you.
Well, and I'll keep the Rick James reference going. I know Rahul talks about this all the time, but he's got that great baseline of being in a Liam Cohen offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. That's all. Yeah. I mean, it was good enough for MC Hammer to steal it, so it's a good baseline.
Can't touch this.
Thank you, David. Thank you. That baseline.
Speaking of can't touching stuff, what about these fantasy point leaders that are so far ahead of everyone else? No one's going to be able to touch them.
Talk about a super freak, man. So I was curious halfway through the season, who's the fantasy points per game leader at every position? And actually, at most positions, it doesn't really matter about the scoring settings because those players are just smashing above everyone so much. You've got the Chiefs duo of Patrick Mahomes and Rahsee Rice. So some high upside there. Probably good candidates to buy, but incredibly expensive. Like there's no buy low opportunity. In fact, at this point, their manager, like, they might almost be unattainable because now that, like, okay, if anyone's held Mahomes through this season and for him to be smashing fantasy points the way he is now, like, why would anyone move off him now? Why would someone move Rahsee Rice if they've been holding him for the last year of no production now that he's smashing? So
right,
they're one, Patrick Mahomes top quarterback, Rahsee Rice top wide receiver. Probably going to be tough to get them in Dynasty, but just thought I should mention them. This one was interesting. This one surprised me. I think we knew Rahsee Rice was doing it. It's still surprising to see, like, he's the wide receiver 1 in points per game. It's because he's had 2 unreal games. That's all it is. I know, everyone else has had a drop at some point. He hasn't yet. So it will, I think, eventually get back to the mean. But this far into the season, Tucker Kraft is the tight end 1 in points per game. And here I was before the season saying he should be a sell. Man. So yeah, Tucker Kraft. Now, it gets close. I think actually in full PPR, he and Trey McBride are actually tied in points per game. So in tight end premium, Trey McBride's actually the tight end 1. He's a lot tougher to acquire probably than Tucker Kraft. But, like, quickly, guys, like, what do you think you could buy Tucker Kraft for?
Oh, mid first.
I was gonna say he feels higher value than all those running backs we're talking about for seconds. So yeah, you probably have to give him at least a late first at this point.
Yeah, that has to be a buy high. Like, we just had our rankings episode, but I think if not the tight end 4, like, I think he's neck and neck with Laporta for me, and could be a little too short term for me. But the production with his ability to have massive games, like 220 plus games so far this season, if I'm correct, but. If you really needed a tight end, yeah, like, I would certainly pay a first, and you might have to add on to a first at this point to get Tucker Kraft.
But we already talked about, like, how it might be really difficult to acquire Bowers. It's probably a lot easier to get Kraft. So if, like, you can't get Bowers, like, this maybe makes sense in terms of just attainability. Really, the guy I wanted to talk about, though, when it comes to buy candidates, no one can touch this guy. Literally, like, defenders can't tackle him. He keeps scoring triple touchdowns every game. He gets a hat trick. Or a helmet trick? I don't know what they call it in football.
Hat trick.
Jonathan Taylor. Yeah. I guess
I see what you were. I see you're too quick for me, Kyle. I see where you're going.
No, it's okay. Well, okay. Anyway, yeah. Jonathan Taylor, folks. He's scoring a lot of fantasy points. You can try to buy him. And this earlier when I was talking about, hey, selling Saquon Barkley, I went and tried to buy Jonathan Taylor. Barkley in a second was not even getting a counter offer. It was like an instant rejection. So, like, you're like. I didn't dare send. I mean, I already don't have my 26 first, but I didn't dare send Barkley in a first to get Taylor. Instead, okay, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to acquire Jonathan Taylor. He's probably. I mean, he might be just as tough to acquire as these other guys. I guess for Rice and Mahomes, there's so much longevity that people really don't want to give up anything for them. Whereas with Jonathan Taylor, like, is there a way to pry him off of a contender? Like, is there a way to buy Jonathan Taylor right now? Because I think you can. that's maybe the first priority over all these guys. Talk about Bowers, Barkley. Like if you can get Jonathan Taylor, that's
You're gonna have to give up like a Ted McMillan, like a Nico, Brian Thomas, Drake London, someone in that top 10 to 12 range at receiver in order to get Jonathan Taylor. I think he is unattainable at this point. He's a league winner. I wouldn't even give you Brock Bowers. I would give up Brock Bowers straight up to get Jonathan Taylor. That's how much I think he will help you win a championship. He's helped me the past 2 years win championships, even though it's scary going into the playoffs. But during the playoffs,
that's true.
Bam, he scored so many freaking points. And he's worth 2 starting running backs. He scores more than 2 running backs. So, like, in a super flex, I think he is worth that.
Joe Burrow.
No, I was gonna say, yeah.
I think I'm still drawing that line.
That's
I'd
still
probably
too
give up
much.
C.J. Stroud. I'd probably give up C.J. Stroud.
Look, anything after
But
8.
Burrow,
So like Caleb, Nick, Stroud, those players, yes.
like you said, like that, the same guys you'd give up for Bowers, you'd give up for John.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because most likely you have 3 good quarterbacks on your team, and you need a running back. So in that scenario, yeah, give up that quarterback.
Try and buy a third QB some other way, right? Like, okay, use draft picks to go buy a third QB or a different position player, right? Like you lose some of that QB depth for Jonathan Taylor, but if that is just depth, that's so worth it, and you can maybe attain some more QB depth in other ways. Even if it's not a flash, like you might be selling a true franchise starter as your third QB that you're just not playing. You might have to go get the like streamable, like year-to-year quarterbacks for cheap.
And even if I was in a scenario,
you can do that.
If I was in a scenario where I needed to win, and I had Travion Henderson or Amari Hampton on my team, I'd be like, hey, how about we just do a swap? But if that doesn't work, I'd be like, well, I'll add my late third. And I know I'll be overpaying for Jonathan Taylor, but I'm pretty much guaranteeing a championship.
I mean, we talked about thirds as being nothing, right? So what's a late third to add on top? I'd add 3 of those, right? Like to make this happen. 1 for each touchdown he scores every week.
And for context, I have Taylor, Hampton, and Henderson back to back in Dynasty.
I mean, I really think, like, honestly, Jamie, like when you said unattainable, I think he's unattainable because to buy him is going to be a price that like almost like sets your Dynasty team back like too much, because a contender, especially if a contender, and like it's hard to see many teams that haven't been propelled into contending having Jonathan
Taylor.
Taylor.
If you're a bad team, he's probably giving you enough wins to be a playoff team, right? Yeah.
There's a team that made 2 trades in one of my Dynasty leagues today. A team that had torn it up completely, had Jonathan Taylor, and then today went ahead and acquired George Pickens, Jordan Addison, Jalen Warren, Brenton Strange, and sent his first, like Braylon Allen, a second, like a couple pieces like that, and a team that looked completely out of it had Jonathan Taylor. So, but the point is, like, as a contender holding Jonathan Taylor, even if a smart move would be to get Omari and Hampton plus Travion Henderson or Jonathan Taylor, like, am I going to give up my like, increased odds at winning the league pot and paying for like the next 6 years of dues, right? Like it would take something like ridiculous to move me off Taylor. And I think as a buyer, like it's verging on like, yeah, too much to buy an asset. Like it is kind of what I would see. But I'd love to see if there are any Jonathan Taylor trades that we could take a look at, Kyle.
Like I said, I was trying to buy him, but no luck. So I don't know. Have you guys noticed any? Like that now, like I'm sure there might have been a lot more Jonathan Taylor trades in the offseason. Some of these players we're talking about, man, we haven't seen them move. And like Bowers hasn't moved since he's been drafted in rookie drafts, right? Like he's never moved essentially. He's never been traded in a lot of leagues, I imagine. But like I venture to think there's probably a lot of Jonathan Taylor trades in the offseason, especially with like the QB news kind of. Oh, is it Daniel Jones? Like I bet that created a lot of movement. I'm sure once that first game hit and he scored 3 touchdowns for the first time, okay, the Jonathan Taylor movement is done. He is staying on this team. So yeah, you're right. Like again, I just wanted to at least get context. Okay, who are the top scoring players? And maybe it's surprising to some people. I know we've talked about Mahomes quite a bit about that, but yeah. If you've been watching football for the last month and a half, it's probably no surprise that Jonathan Taylor is the RB1. All right, let's flip through this next topic real quick. Jamie wants to talk flip candidates. So
yeah, there's a bunch of players that could be just sitting on the end of your rosters, and you're looking at them and they're like, these are fantasy gold right now, but I can't fit them into my lineup. One, Oronde Gadsden, baby. I have him in 18 leagues. My most owned dynasty tight end. I was getting him in the 4th, even off waivers for free. Now people are sending me offers. I get a notification every single day for an offer for Gadsden. They're all trash. But I talked to one guy from the Dynasty front office after he sent me this, and I said, I am not going to do this because I look at Gadsden as a top 10 Dynasty tight end asset. So I'm going to need a first plus. And he agreed. He wants to give a first plus. So there's people out there that right now look at Gadsden as a top 10 asset for first. And you're selling him as high as his highest point is going to be. He is a dog. I love him. That's why I have him in 18 Dynasty leagues. But if I can get a first for him, this is just like we talked about Tucker Kraft. I got Tucker Kraft in the 4th or off waivers in his rookie draft. Now I'm able to sell a first. But if I can do that 2 years early, give me that first. I'll give you Gadsden all day long for that first plus. What do you guys think about Gadsden?
Well, my first question is, did you manage to sell any Gadsden? Did you get any?
Not yet, because I love him so much, but I am waiting for a good value trade.
Well, and my next question was, okay, other than that person maybe agreeing with you that the first was worth it, like what was the best actual offer you got for Gadsden? Like I'm curious to see, like I know you've given us what you value him at, but I'm curious what other people
are sending me low ball offers, like second or like players in that second round area. And I'm like, no, I'm going to wait because I know for a fact I can get a first plus for this dude.
Yeah, okay. I feel like I turned down at least 2 seconds worth of offers. It was like maybe the best one was like Kittle and a second, or like Hawkinson and Quentin Johnston. And
Kittle in a second, I would take that.
Yeah, I'm thinking Kittle in a second is probably pretty good. Like
I would take that all day.
These came in at the middle of Thursday night football as I was seeing Gadsden gallop down the field.
I look at Kittle. I look at Kittle. I look at Kittle as a late. I look at Kittle as a late first, and I bought him last year during the rookie draft this year for a late first. So, like I said, late first plus. Give me that late first plus a second. I'll give you Gadsden. I want to sell him before. I mean, I don't think he's gonna go down much. He's always going to be in that 15 area. But right now, I'm waiting for the people to catch up and look at him as a top 8, top 10 dynasty tight end when next week or 2, 3, 4 weeks next year, he could be in that 15 range. So I want to cash out, not on all my shares, but on the shares that I have like 8, 9 tight ends on my roster. Like you guys know, I love hoarding tight ends. So I'm looking. Would that
be something, I suppose, like, I guess this is the question. If you have so much Gadsden, where do you start? Like, what are the types of leagues you're looking to sell him in? Are you looking to sell him on contending teams or more on rebuild?
It doesn't matter. Like, if I have him as my 4th, 5th tight end, I'm going to do that all day. But if he's my second tight end, I'm holding him. If he's my 3rd tight end, I'm holding him because he is a valuable asset. He's a wide receiver dressed up as a tight end.
And I think
he'll good appeal. Offense connected to Herbert. So
I think he'll appeal to different teams, right? Because he's scoring enough right now that a contender could see, oh, yeah, I'll buy Gadsden to help me score points now. But a rebuilder could also view Gadsden as, okay, that's a future piece that, like, I want to rebuild around. So, yeah, there's probably a lot of people willing to get Gadsden right now. It's just, again, are they willing to pay the price you have? And Jamie's price might not be everywhere.
I've noticed some people are, and I'm going to wait for it to happen.
Okay, well.
So,
and I suppose, Jamie, I guess my last question is, if people never catch up, the people in your leagues never value him as a top 10 tight end, are you willing to just ride out 18 shares and say, oh, I guess I got a lot of Gadsden points in my lineup every week?
Yeah, I am, because like I said, I have Kraft, I have Theo Johnson, people like even Tavian Sanders, I think could rise up in the ranks. So these are guys that I got in the late 4th off waivers for free. So if I could find a penny on the ground and give it to you for $2, I'm giving you that penny, getting those $2 that I can eat.
Okay. So, yeah, food charges you up, right? Chargers also have another player. So let's talk about one of Oronde. Well, I mean, they have lots of players, but one player we're going to talk about now. So, Jamie, Oronde Gadsden's teammate, Kamani Vidal. So let us know.
Yeah, but Vidal right now, he is at his peak value. I even dropped him in the league going into the year because I needed space, and I regret it. But he is valuable right now. I think you could probably get a late second for him, or I would even take a third.
I mean, yeah, he's probably not that valued as that much different than those Dobbins guys we were talking about, like in that range. And if anything, he's younger, right? Like more people might be willing to spend that second, especially the way he's producing right now.
And then a couple other guys, like if you have Noel or Higgins on your list, maybe you could flip them right now because they've been getting some traction. Also, a guy that I have on 0 of my teams is Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin, if you have him, I would flip him now because there is Pat Bryant lurking in the wins. Who knows what Troy Franklin's value is going to be in the future? He was a later round pick, so I would flip him.
He was the one I almost wanted to push back on the most, just from the sense that he's not only is he second on the Broncos in targets, I think he's only 2 targets behind Courtland Sutton. So, I mean, he's earning the opportunities. And I know Pat Bryant, you say, is lurking. I do wonder if Franklin has gone above Mims to the point where Pat Bryant's going to hurt Marvin Mims more than he will Troy Franklin.
Yeah, Marvin Mims, I'm trying to sell for anything I can.
I sold him for a third earlier this season.
I tried to sell him for a third. It didn't bite.
I think you got to, because he's a second rounder. People thought he was really talented. People still think he's really talented. Some people really believe him. You just kind of almost have to dig and find who are those Marvin Mims believers. But,
I'm going to let you guys hash this out because I got to hop off. But this is fun. This is awesome. I love hanging out with you guys, talking Dynasty. But I want to hear more what Rahul has to say about Gadsden. So you guys, peace out.
Well, I was just about to say, I was going to say, I believe we've hit the end of the episode, so I was going to say this out.
Cool.
But yeah, so my co-hosts, Jamie Perog, always on time. He's got on the show. He's always busy. So let people know what else you're doing, Jamie. Before you head out.
IDP Center. I'm going live right now and going for 2 on the Tuesday night cheat sheet. Tuesday night and going for 2 live start sit show on Sunday mornings.
Great to have you all, as always. Rahul, anything you want to share with the listeners and viewers?
Yeah, just for the listeners that are listening to this, he just left, but the listeners that listen to this, when it comes out on Thursday, Jamie is talking about Wednesday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern is when he goes live at the IDP Center. So do check that out. But yeah, great show, Kyle. I think, again, really always interested to talk about players, more interested to talk about strategies. And I thought that bye week little tangent that we had was a great look into things. And it's again, yeah, just more expand the way of thinking about Dynasty, because there's certainly more than one way to skin a cat. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and great episode, Kyle.
Also more than one way to throw that reference into the room. And but yeah, may as well change the banner for the last 2 seconds. The official Dynasty Six Pack outro. But yes, appreciate everyone for watching as always. We're here on the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel. So first off, we'd love people to subscribe to the channel. It does help definitely support us here. And check out all the other great content. There's so many good videos, whether it's pre-recorded videos like these. There's still a couple of shows that go live. Lots of great stuff. You've got, I guess off the top of my head, you've got the Joe Bond. He's with Corey and AJ. They do the Fantasy Six Pack Hour, flagship show on the network. We've got the Offensive Points guys. They brought their show onto Fantasy Six Pack Network. They do a show every week. The Parlay FF guys, they do 2 shows a week as well on the YouTube channel. So lots of great people, a lot of great things to say. So definitely check out all those Fantasy Six Pack YouTube shows. FantasySixPack.net, tons of great articles. Again, my goal line guide article is out every Thursday morning. We have predict touchdowns. Every team, every offense is graded for their offense, rushing and passing, with goal line grades. Check out the goal line guide. I put a lot of work into it. I think it's pretty useful actually for trying to identify touchdown upside. Because I mean, that's all the things we talked about today. All these players to go by, they're all scoring really well because they're scoring a lot of touchdowns. So touchdowns are important.
That's exactly right, Kyle. Like, I'm looking at this, my main redraft league, and I'm playing the team who's like sitting in second and has an absolute behemoth with Mahomes, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift, lost Cam Scatterboo. So, for me, but
they're getting them when they're vulnerable. Good job.
Yeah, but it's a guy that legitimately does not follow any fancy content off season, during season. It's a guy who in a 1 QB league drafted Mahomes and then accidentally drafted Kyler and dropped him immediately after the draft. So just to get some context about like the guy who has this team,
dropping Kyler isn't that bad of a move as you think. He's been scoring this year.
Right, seconds after the draft, dropped Kyler. So, Two things you can take away: fantasy football, a lot of luck, but the importance of having those absolute hammers that are getting you, multiple touchdown, large yardage totals. Those are the guys that end up making the difference. So go buy all the players. We try to buy all the players we talked about today.
What the biggest hammer to have is? It's the F6P All Access membership. You can get that at a 15% discount with the promo code F6P Pods. Again, there's lots of great stuff for free at FantasySixPack.net, Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel, Fantasy Six Pack Discord as well. But the All Access membership gets you even more great stuff. Weekly cheat sheets for DFS, for betting, exclusive rankings, all sorts of great content. Again, available only through the All Access membership. You can get a 50% discount with F6P Pods, the promo code.
Yeah, I'd probably give up my first round pick. I'd probably give up my first round pick for the All Access, but you don't need to, and you can get it even cheaper with the promo code.
And then you can save the first round pick to go buy players like we talked about today all through the episode. Great topic, Rahul.
Great.
Yeah, that's it for this. We'll talk more Dynasty topics every week here on the Dynasty Six Pack. On behalf of Rahul and Jamie, I'm Kyle. See you all